Hello and welcome to your in-depth weekly horoscope for week commencing the 16th of January for the Sun or the Ascendant. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to give you a broad overview of what to expect before diving deep to give you in forensic detail all the key influences for each of the 12 zodiac signs. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for joining me once more. New to my channel, it's great to have you with me and I'd be honoured if you'd subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. Now this week is very powerful. The Sun is side by side with Pluto for the whole of this week, but across two different zodiac signs. And this is very symbolic because for the last 15 years, Pluto has been making its way through the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is very much about the established order, big business, big government, big organisations, but big money. Now, the sign of Aquarius is much more about the collective, but also individuality. There's a duality in the sign of Aquarius. Pluto is about transformation. And because it's getting to the end of its journey in Capricorn, which is going to happen basically in 3 stages, it will finally move fully into the sign of Aquarius on the 19th of November 2024. But of course it goes there for 11 weeks this year, 38 weeks in the following year. And what we're seeing is a big shift. And that really starts to show itself this week. This is why this week is so potent. And of course there is then on Saturday, a new moon in the sign of Aquarius, forging a disassociate conjunction with Pluto in Capricorn. But that Plutonian energy can reveal secrets. It's also about deep power that's not necessarily very obvious. It can be about more sinister activities, of course. This week also sees Mercury go direct on Wednesday, Uranus direct on Sunday, but Mercury doesn't emerge from its post-retrograde shadow until the 7th of February. But it does forge a beautiful alliance with the North Node this week, which can be helpful, but a much less helpful one with Mars. Mars now going forwards in the sign of Gemini is quite an impatient, direct energy when it comes to communication, which Mercury governs. So Mercury in the more business-like sign of Capricorn is just saying in this quincunx with Mars that we need to be very sure that we're not jumping to conclusions, making hasty assumptions, or even expressing ourselves in rather an impatient way. Also, from the middle of the week to the end of the week when they become exact, Venus edges into a conjunction with Saturn. Because they're both in the sign of Aquarius, this can be a real test for certain relationships. But for those people who are very committed and very hardworking, Saturn can help to bake in that commitment even more. So it could be a time when some people actually firm up their commitment much more. But the key to this week, of course, Mercury going direct and Uranus going direct, is that energy will start to move. And because the Sun moves on Friday into the airy sign of Aquarius, I feel that also is going to see lots more information flowing around. So I think that's very welcome. But also we are seeing some very big changes about how we live, how we interact, how we earn money, how we relate to power in general. So that's the key background to this week. If you would like to learn more about natal astrology rather than just this zodiac forecast, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place of birth, I can produce a 12-month forecast for you that's totally unique to you. But in my special package of 30% off, you'll also get your crucial life roadmap report. This really helps you to understand some of the patterns that you've experienced over and over in your situation. Perhaps some of these have been quite challenging, others have given you real opportunities. If you get a more intimate understanding of those, you can steer your moves more successfully going forwards. Now, in this special package, you can also get your free 12-month general forecast in terms of your zodiac sign, but also your Chinese forecast and your Indian forecast for year 2023. Please see the link below. So Capricorn, your week commencing the 16th of January forecast is really interesting in a way because, of course, Mercury retrograde in your own sign may have seen you try out some approaches, perhaps review some ongoing strands, make some changes. I think there's been a fair degree of flexing because of that, and maybe some things haven't gone forwards, but there are other things that you've been working on perhaps as long as 15 years since Pluto's been in your sign, that really could be reaching a point where you can see just how much substance is developing within them. The sun moving into the sign of Aquarius on Friday can help you to overview just where you're at, give you a greater sense of your self-worth. Mercury's retrograde ending, can see us speeding up. It flashes a great angle to the North Node. It does, of course, forge that quincunx with Mars, which is a bit more challenging because the 6th house is very much about where we do things for others, where we try to keep things straight, organised, in trim, healthy, fit physicality, all that kind of stuff. But of course, Gemini is very much about how we think and speak. But the 1st house is about you, and the sun combining with Pluto in your sign earlier in the week is very much about you. So Mars could be a bit of a distraction if there are other things you're trying to be very virtuous about, such as an exercise regime, or perhaps your job or the needs of others, when actually the planets are really asking you to keep it narrow and just really be very, very intentioned on the things that are really key to you. The new moon could be very beneficial in terms of your finances, and of course Saturn, your ruler, has been in your sector of everyday finances over the last couple of years, and maybe you have had to make some changes even before the financial crunch that we're now in started. But Venus being in the mix alongside your ruler Saturn is really interesting. Venus can be about loot as much as about relationships. If you're viewing a potential relationship based on what someone does for a living, the car they drive, the package they have, and all the rest of it, that could be to your disadvantage. But equally, you are a very shrewd operator, and you feel that people have to be productive, and that gives you a sense of security, but also it impresses you. So, but Venus in the 2nd house can be quite alluring. If there's a lack of money or a lack of lust or a lack of intimacy in a close relationship, it may really show itself as this week draws to a close. But Uranus springing forwards in your sector of self-expression, very much the planet of experimentation, whereas you're very much someone who upholds the traditional and well-established. But you are being asked with Uranus direct and the North Node to be open to trying different things. But when it comes to your love life, somehow or another, how a person feels about you, how they value you, how you value them, is going to be at the core of whether you can get through this face-up between Venus and Saturn and gain from it, or it does have a really big impact on your thinking of whether that tie really is secure enough, is stable enough, is up to what you really expect. So an interesting phase of transition where your individuality does need to take centre stage still, but you can also view your evolution at this stage, not just in terms of money, but in terms of how you rate yourself. But there is that complex relational issue threaded in there too.